if you run Facebook ads and all you're looking at is your ROAS and determining if you should scale budget up or scale budget down based on what that number says, you're looking at things completely wrong. I've ran well over $100 million across Google and Facebook ads for D2C brands, and I'll tell you right now that when I'm determining if I should scale an ad account, ROAS is the second or the third thing that I consider before scaling budgets. And that's because ROAS is inflated, easy to manipulate, and the worst part of it is that Meta loves it that way. There's really only one metric that matters that gives you clarity and understanding if you should be scaling budgets up or down, but the worst part of it is most business owners don't even know what it is. So today I'll share what this metric is, why ROAS doesn't matter anymore, and then ultimately share the simplest framework so you'll know when you should be scaling and when to be pulling budget back. So before we dive into things, I'm gonna prove to you the claims that I made about ROAS. First one being that it is inflated and easy to manipulate. So I'm in an ad account right now, and this is over $100,000 of ad spend. And what you'll see is Facebook's native attribution, which is 7-day click, 1-day view, and I'll explain what that means here in a second. It is counting 9,100 actual purchases, right? But if I pull a secondary attribution model, an attribution model is just a measurement, and all attribution means taking credit for something. And so there's different models or measurements that take credit for things. So you have 7-day click, 1-day view, which again is Facebook's native. But if you look at 7-day click attribution, this means that somebody had to click on an ad within the last 7 days and then buy something. We're only counting 5,200 purchases. And so you may be asking, well, why is Facebook taking credit for people who never even clicked on an ad? That's the whole point. Facebook ROAS is inflated because what happens is their native attribution model, 7-day click, 1-day view, they're going to count anybody who is in this bucket, right? Because this is just 7-day click, but they're also going to count people who never clicked on your ad. They just scrolled past your ad on feed and then they converted a day later. And the reason why this is so detrimental is because let's just paint out a likely and common scenario that happens with businesses. Let's say you already have an existing customer and every Wednesday you send out an email blast to try to get these existing customers to repurchase an item from your store. Well, let's say on Tuesday night, that customer scrolls past a Facebook ad, but they never click on it, but they end up converting from your email the next day whenever your email campaign goes out. Well, Facebook's going to take credit for that. And then also Klaviyo or whatever email provider you're using is going to take credit for that. And so now you have platforms that are both claiming credit for a single sale, and Shopify only sees one sale. And so if you purely are looking at ROAS, number one, it is going to mislead you dramatically because there's other touch points that had to happen to lead to that purchase. And it's likely that Facebook didn't even generate a click. And so the easiest way, if you want to actually see this in your ad account and see the discrepancy here, again, it's almost cut in half. We only have about half of our purchases coming from actual clicks. So all you'll do is you'll go into Facebook, go to your columns, and then scroll down to compare attribution settings. And you'll see all the ones in here. Just make sure you click 7-day click, and then you'll see the breakout like I have here. And so what this can also do, just looking a bit more since everybody looks at ROAS, our ROAS drops from a 7.37 to a 4.15. And so if I'm purely looking at my return on ad spend and I'm saying, hey, we are at a 7 ROAS, let's just keep scaling. In actuality, if I'm at a 4 ROAS, and for this brand, it's still very, very profitable, so we're continuing to scale. But in other cases, other brands may not be as profitable. And so if the ROAS is showing 3 and you're actually getting a 1.5, then you could be below break even and you could be actually losing money. And so ROAS would be inflated and it'd be misleading you towards a decision that's going to hurt your pockets at the end of the month. So if ROAS is out, what's the metric you actually start to look for to make decisions in your ad account? Real quick, if you're an e-commerce business spending $30,000 or more per month on ads and your numbers don't add up, you're having trouble scaling or just managing your campaigns across Google and Meta, this is exactly what I help my clients solve on a day-to-day basis. And I care about one thing when I partner with clients: growing their profit. So if that's you and you'd like to partner with me, scan the QR code or hit the link in the description to see if we're a good fit. Now back to the video. Okay, drum roll please. The metric that you are going to want to start tracking is media efficiency ratio. This sounds like a fancy term, but I really just think of it as a return on ad spend. And what I mean by this is it is a relationship between your revenue and spend. And so the way you calculate media efficiency ratio is you're going to look at your Shopify sales, your total sales on Shopify, and you're going to divide that by your ad spend. Now, why do we do do it this way. The reason we look at Shopify total sales is because I know Shopify is my source of truth. It cannot lie and it cannot be inflated. If it says you made 100 grand in total sales, you actually made 100 grand, and I know it's not wrong. And then also I'm looking at my total ad spend, and I know my total ad spend won't lie to me. If I spent $50,000 in a single month, I actually spent that money. And so what this allows us to do is take our total sales divided by ad spend and actually track a return on ad spend. And this, yes, is at a holistic level. And some people will say, well, I don't know if Facebook's holding its weight or if it's Google or my email. And I'll show you how to break this down. But for now, don't even worry about that, because at the end of the day, let's just use this example and say your total store sales were $200,000 and you spent $50,000 across Google and Meta. So your actual MER, or your true ROAS is the way I like to look at it, would be a 4x. And if you know that your brand is profitable after you hit a 1.5 or a 1.6, then you know that you've made money for the month. And so you are in the green and you can keep on scaling and you would keep making money as long as you're above that 1.5 mark. The only caveat I'd throw in here is you need to know your unit economics, because after you plug in your unit economics and you determine what your break-even ROAS is, you can start to forecast a couple different scenarios and say, at what MER and spend am I projecting to hit this level of contribution profit? That is my revenue minus my cost of goods, minus my shipping, minus my transaction fees, minus the cost of all my ad spend. This is the profit that's left over at the end of the month. And then you can also start forecasting different scenarios at higher spend levels. And so you can say, even if our MER drops, if we spend more money, we're still gonna make just about as much money as we would in scenario one. These are gonna look massively different depending on your unit economics. All that to say, when you know your MER, you can actually forecast different outcomes, and then you look at your MER, or your true ROAS number, and you start saying, we're at target, let's scale more. And as long as we're hitting or pacing that target that we've set in our forecasting, we are good to keep going. Or no, let's pull back a little bit so we can hit our actual profit goal. And so I'm not gonna dive into every single metric I'm looking at for individual ads. I actually made a video last week where I went ahead and did that, but for this video, I'm just gonna be sharing a simple framework you can operate by to know if you should be scaling budget up or down, or to understand if there's an issue in your account or if you've struck a gold mine. And so what we're gonna have here is a really simple framework to understand if you should scale. So what you're gonna first look at is your MER goal being met. Are you profitable at your MER goal that you've set? If that is not being hit, but your ads look like they're doing great, do not trust the ad platform. You are going to be descaling or keeping budget flat depending on the delta needed for your MER goal to be met. Second scenario, if your MER goal is being met, but your ads show that they're underperforming, you're still gonna be scaling. And the way you would look at this is you would look at what platform has the best ROAS. And so what you always start with is you look at your MER. That is your sign that you can scale as long as you're hitting goal. The second thing that you're gonna look at is you're gonna look at ROAS, because ROAS is still directionally correct. So if Google is showing a 5 ROAS and Facebook is showing a 1 ROAS, I'm likely gonna scale Google, because Google's likely more incremental. And so even when the platform ROAS doesn't look like it's doing good, follow the platform that has the best ROAS and just scale that one. And then last but not least, this one is probably really obvious. If your MER goal is being met and your ad goal is being met and it looks like the ROAS is good, you're of course going to keep on scaling. And so what this will tell you is if you have both of these that are working really well and they're firing after recent changes, diagnose what were those recent changes. Was it a specific type of ad? Was it a specific structure? Was it a specific offer in my ads that I implemented? And on weeks that you have really big MER spikes, even when scaling, you need to pay attention to what you've done, because you need to be able to iterate that on an ongoing basis. And inversely, whenever you see your MER goal diminish and it's not hitting goal, especially if it once was, start diagnosing what was the thing that caused MER to decrease or not hit goal. Maybe you scaled too quickly. That could be part of the reason. You scaled too quickly and the platform or the ads that you have in your ad account are not as incremental. That could be it. Or maybe you paused ads in your Facebook ad account that looked like they were underperformers, but they were actually building your whole funnel. So what I'm trying to get you to do is to zoom out, look at a business from a 30,000 foot view and understand how much profit is being generated on a weekly basis, and allow that to inform your decision making in the platform as far as, do I scale? Do I descale? Oh, we had a really good week. Well, let me spend some time in the actual ad platform, figure out what we did last week so we can replicate and do more of that and less of the things that hurt our MER. So I hope that helps. And really, you guys have two options. You can keep chasing the shiny, pretty ROAS and wonder why your bank account is not quite as pretty, or you run your ad account based on financial outcomes and metrics that are actually tied to the business. And if you want me to do this for you, even if it's just helping with the forecasting, hit the link in the description or scan the QR code below. And if you want to see this exact approach with real numbers, watch my case study where we scaled ad spend and profit by over 150% month over month.